A number of years ago, we were called to a scene where a body had been dumped in the stairwell of a public housing building. As we arrive, we shove the floor mat into the door to prop it open. A nice young guy gives us a hand and we secure the scene. The deceased had multiple mutilations about his body. Slashes, stabs, and burns, even a bit of waffling, burn marks in a grid pattern. Yet his clothes are oddly bloodless. The medical examiner arrives, and they found that his body is completely drained. The corpse is fresh and shows no signs that decomposition had set in. The detectives arrive, and the investigation begins. We help remove the body and resume our duties. A month later, an arrest is made. Remember that nice young kid I told you about who helped us with the door? Well, he was a friend of the victim. He and a girl had been drinking with the victim. An argument started between them, so they beat the victim unconscious, tethered him to a chair, and proceeded to torture him for 2 days. After he died, they completely drained him of his blood in the bathtub, changed his clothes, and opened the apartment door and threw his body down the stairs. And in case you were wondering, there were 0 911 calls during this period of time that he was being tortured. Those apartments are very close together. I would imagine 2 days of torture would make a bit of noise, just saying. My uncle works for dispatch in my town, and he recently told my family of one of the weirdest calls he's ever gotten. He says that he had received a call from a landline one night, and when he answered it, there was only static on the other end. This happened 2 more times. Finally, he calls a squad to go check out the address from the caller ID. When the cops got there, and they walked in the house, they immediately saw that there was a dead body. The person had been there for about 5 months. Craziest part about it was that there was no electricity or any other working utilities. So there was no way they should have been able to get those calls into dispatch. But if they hadn't, who knows how long that person's body would have stayed there. I hear one of the other guys on my beat get dispatched to a well-being check of an elderly lady. After a few minutes, the guy asks for a supervisor. A few minutes later, they dispatch me to the lady's house. I get there, and the supervisor asks me to climb in through an unsecured window at the back of the house because I am of smaller stature. I get to the window and tell it's the bedroom. I can hear a loud television on in the other room. I yell out, "Police, does anyone need help?" as I climb in through the window. I hear an old raspy voice call out, "Here." I run out of the bedroom down the hall to where I heard the voice come from. From the living room, I can see a lady laying face down in the dining room area. I call out to her, "Ma'am, did you fall? Where are you hurt?" I run to her and she's not moving. I touch her and she's ice cold. She was dead. And from the looks of it, had been for a few days. I unlocked the door and let the supervisor and the other officer in. I told them I heard a voice and we needed to check the whole house. No one else was in there. I know the TV was on, but I definitely heard another voice. I work in a small town in Ohio. My daughter was up one night clipping her nails and decided to draw the back curtains so she could look out the window. She, to her surprise, however, is staring face to face with what appears to be a werewolf. Keep in mind that our windows were about 4 feet off the ground. I didn't really believe her, but I saw the fear in her eyes, so I walked around the perimeter of the house with a pistol and a flashlight. Well, whatever had been there was gone. Well, about a week later, me and my partner busted a peeping Tom who was dressed in a werewolf costume so that no one could identify him or believe witnesses.